such announcement to the Home News and Tribune and filing a copy of such announcement with the municipal clerk. Mr. Pasquini?
Present.
Mr. Lauer?
Here.
Mr. Lenning?
Here.
Mr. Pink?
Here.
Mr. Mollis?
Here.
Mr. Luca?
Here.
Chairman Schmitz?
Here.
Ms. Carey?
Here.
Mr. Kay?
Mr. Kaliuklani is present.
Mr. Sabatini?
Here.
We have, the first item is we have the resolution for 07-18B, the Trinity Bagel Shop. Can I have a motion, please?
Move it.
Second.
Mr. Pasquini?
Yes.
Mr. Lauer?
Yes.
Mr. Lenning?
Yes.
Mr. Murgy? Oh, sorry, Mr. Pink?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Luca?
Yes.
Chairman Schmitz?
Yes. Next item is 08-18P, JAB Automotive.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Jeffrey Chang from the law firm of Halber and Pape. I have the pleasure of representing JAB Automotive LLC this evening. First off, I'd like to thank the board for meeting at the special meeting. We appreciate giving us an opportunity to be heard this evening. JAB Automotive, we filed a preliminary and final site plan application to permit the expansion of a parking lot, as well as additional site improvements, including stormwater management, lighting, and landscaping for the new parking area. And I'd also like to take an opportunity to make sure that the board attorney can confirm that proper notice was given and you have jurisdiction to hear this matter.
Yes, thank you. We did receive a copy of your documentation of the notice, and I don't see anybody here objecting. It's all your people. so-
Wonderful, thank you. The property is subject to an application for block 4186.11, lot 4.11. Has frontage on Route 9. The neighbors are U-Haul and Mr. Tire. The property is approximately 2 acres in size, and it's located in the Township's CC, which is a community and commercial zone. And the property is currently improved with a one-story masonry building and parking area, which is used for used car sales. And this board previously granted, December 2nd, 2014, a prior approval to establish this business on the property. And as a condition of the prior approval, the applicant was limited to storage of no more than 26 automobile cars outside. This evening, we're asking for an additional 75 spaces for our client to put cars for display. The reason for that is because business has actually increased and there is a need for expansion, and that's why we're here this evening. And I have Jay Britschke, the managing member of the company, to kind of outline the business model that he has, the reason why he's asking for the expansion this evening, and to answer any other questions you may have regarding operations of the company.
We'll get you sworn in. You raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Just state and spell your name for the record, please.
First name J-A-Y.
Okay.
Last name Britschke. B as in boy, R-I-C-H-K-E.
Thank you.
Mr. Britschke, can you first outline why you need an expansion of your parking lot and why we're here this evening?
Sure. Business has improved, and I'd like to carry more inventory, and we don't have the space for it, but I do have this property I've owned since I bought the initial property, and there is currently a detention basin on it, and with modern technology, that can be put below ground, and I could utilize the property that I own. And that's what I'm hoping to do.
Right. And then can you outline I think we want to understand how many employees work there, how many parking spaces are allocated for them, and then how many spaces are allocated for potential customers?
Sure. There currently is 5 spaces for customers, which is adequate. I don't believe we've ever had 5 customers on the premises at once. The way business is done these days really is people shop on the internet. They don't really come into the showroom and kick tires anymore. They do their shopping at home, and in my business, they fill out a credit application online, and they do all their shopping online, and over the phone, and we're by appointment only. We really do see very little actual, just drop-in business. So people come in, they've already done their shopping, their due diligence, and they come in and make a purchase based on having done their work long before they ever walk in the door. So we've never even come close to filling the 5 spaces. So the 5 I have now are adequate for customers. As far as employees, same thing with internet business. I don't have a tremendous amount of employees because, like I said, most of the work is done over the telephone, and we currently have 6 employees, which is adequate for my business as it is now, and I believe as I expand, it also will be adequate.
A total of 11 spaces that would be used for customer and employees? only?
Correct.
Okay. One thing that I think will come up that we should elaborate on is how do cars come to your property? How do you get that inventory? Where do you get the inventory
Sure.
from, and then how does it get to your site?
Sure. 99% of the cars that we purchase are actually from Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise Rent-A-Car, I guess like most rental companies, they get brand-new cars from manufacturers, and they keep them around for about 6 months or a year, and then they sell them to people like me, to dealers. So the reason why I choose to do business with them is their cars are still under factory warranty, and they maintain them. So I'm not buying a car that's been abused or neglected, like some, frankly, individuals do. They're a business and they keep the cars maintained because they need to keep them in their fleet. So I buy all my cars from them, generally speaking. And what they do is they don't use car carriers. They deliver the cars to me. They have a team of drivers. And if I buy 5 cars, they have 5 cars, 5 drivers drive 5 cars, and they have a shuttle van that drives behind them, and the drivers get out of the cars, and they hand me the keys, and they jump in the shuttle van, and back to Enterprise they go. So that's the way we buy inventory.
I have no further questions for Mr. Berichke. I definitely open up now and also later to the board for any questions about operations. Because this matter was before the board in 2014, there is no change to the building, there's no change to the intensity of the individuals, number of individuals on the property, there's no change to the template of how many people, how cars are delivered to the property. So I have no further questions at this juncture.
Any questions from the board?
I have a question. Oh, sorry. So just to clarify, 6 employees, and there's a total of 5 parking spots that are designated for both customers as well as employees?
No.
If you can clarify
5
that.
for customers,
Okay.
6 for employees.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sir, are you the sole owner of this
I am.
establishment?
I am.
You are. I stopped at your site last week, and I noticed that the back entrance was chained off. I watched, I don't know if it was a customer or an employee, drive over the curb, over the grass and over the curb to go around the chained off entrance.
I can
Why
explain.
would that be chained off during business hours?
Tell you why. There's a very large apartment complex behind my building. And when that chain is up after business hours, because residents of those apartments cut right through my property, which is really dangerous. They cruise right through. They don't really care if people, customer employees, they just ride right through to get to the apartments and not go the right way through the streets. So that's what the chain is up for. So
Okay,
I'm not
so,
familiar with that incident in particular you're talking about. I don't know who it was. It could have been one of those residents. I just don't have no way of knowing.
I don't know either. But if you get approved tonight for this expansion, is that still going to be chained off that road?
I don't know how to keep it from being, it's a dangerous situation with residents cutting through the property, cutting through the
I
driveway.
understand that, yeah.
I don't know how else to, I'm open to suggestions of how to make it, I just try to keep them from using it as a thoroughfare.
Okay,
Can I, so just on this one, can I clarify, when is it chained?
For business hours.
After business hours?
Yeah.
So it's open during the day?
no, I was there during the day. It was chained off
Really?
during working hours.
I'm not sure why it was. Generally speaking, it's like during the day, it's open. And
Okay,
at night, when people, basically what happens is we close, we close like 6 o'clock and we put it up then. So I don't know what that situation was.
My other questions are, you're looking to put 75 additional parking spots. Your previous approval was to allow 26 cars overnight. when I visited that site the other day, there were cars all over, everywhere. Every parking spot appeared to be full, and cars were in front of the cars, parked perpendicular to the cars sitting there. Were they left overnight?
I don't know what day you were there. I can't really speak about that, but we need to expand. That's why I'm expanding the property, because I need to have more space for cars.
And are you looking for, what kind of relief are you looking for? Will you still, I know you're going to go for 75 more parking spots, but what kind of relief are you looking for with the 26 restricted parking spots at night?
So, if I'm understanding the question, we're proposing 75 spots for inventory display of the cars, storage overnight. That would be in addition to the 26 existing. So the total would be, if I do the math correctly, 105, I believe, is the total number of spaces that we're asking this evening for car storage and display. So it's on hand when customers come to purchase the car itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, these cars, there won't be any new inventory from another dealership? And no people parking there to take the bus to city or anything?
Absolutely not.
Okay. And some of the cars, I noticed, needed a little bit more than just mechanical work. They looked like they needed body work. You're not doing body work there, are you?
Absolutely not. We don't even take service work from outside. We only do recon of our own cars, reconditioning of our own cars.
And have you had a problem with vandalism at all? I mean,
Not here in Old Bridge, no.
so there's no intentions of putting a fence around it to secure it?
Never had a problem,
Okay,
never once.
okay, thank you.
You have no cameras on site? No. No cameras at all?
Never had a problem.
They'll probably help you find out who's running through your property, right?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I do stand out there. They go right into the apartments.
During your description of your business model, you said that you have all your cars dropped off individually. Is the property able to handle a car carrier? If you're expanding, you're going to have a lot more vehicles coming in. If you can't get your inventory from Enterprise, say, would you be able, if you went to an auction and they were going to drop you 10 cars off, is there room and availability for a car carrier to come in?
The engineers could probably,
If
address
you're
that.
okay with that, we'll have the engineer when he comes up. You can certainly ask that question because he might be in a better position to
Okay.
answer that.
Have you ever had a car carrier on the property?
buy Enterprise cars. Like I said, because they're relatively new and I can buy them at good prices from Enterprise, I haven't had to. No auction fees, no transportation fees. There's advantage to it, so I haven't gone that route.
Do you ever have auctions on your property?
Never.
Yes.
Hi, so the inside of your building, what goes on in there?
Sales, title clerk, accounting. We have a shop, there's a full shop. The building was Sears before I purchased it. So there's a full-scale shop there. We use it for reconditioning of cars, nothing out to the public, so that's really what's there. And there's quite a bit of unused space actually inside.
Yeah, I did myself, I went by there, and I noticed that you're packed out. You definitely need more spots. So that's what you've done, that's your business model, is selling cars?
Correct.
That's it, right?
That's all we do.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yep, I have just one more point of clarification. I was curious if the spots for customers and employees, are they localized in certain areas? Because I was also struck by, obviously you're here for more spots. I was struck by the lack of parking.
Sure. The 5 spots right in front of the front door are for customers, and there are spots on the side of the building where the employees park.
Okay. And what are your normal business hours? Because I had also noticed the chain
Yep.
out back.
Yep. Monday 9 to 6,
Okay.
Tuesday 9 to 6, Wednesday 9 to 6, Thursday 9 to 6, Friday is 9 to 7, and Saturday 9 to 5.
Okay.
We're by appointment only. Like tonight, for example, it was rainy and storming and there was no one around, so when I left at 5 o'clock, so did everybody else.
Thank you.
If I may, I'd like to call our design engineer to discuss a little bit more about the property. And I have Mr. Brischke will still be here to answer any other questions if you guys have it later on.
Just for the record, it doesn't appear there's anybody from the public, so we'll just hang on to the end and do a formal.
Sounds good.
Okay.
And then if I could have
Sorry.
Mr. John Manilio, the design engineer from Redcom.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state and spell your name again for the record.
Sure. John Manilio, M-A-N-I-L-I-O.
Thank you.
All right, and before I begin, I'm just going to hand out, I have small exhibits that are, what are going to be shown.
Qualification.
When you're done with that, John, qualifications to testify as professional engineer.
So I have a Bachelor of Science degree from Syracuse University. I'm a professional engineer in the state of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, New York. Has testified in front of numerous boards throughout the state with an expert or with a lot of work that I've done in automotive sales and service.
And your license is current in New Jersey?
License is current, yes.
Very good.
Ask the board to accept him as a professional engineer.
So I'm not sure how you want to mark the exhibits. If you want to, these are just smaller of what I'm putting on the boards. I don't know if you want this marked as an exhibit as well, or
Mark, when we mark the boards then, right? So there's one,
first exhibit,
Two.
number A1.
the first page of the A1 aerial exhibit.
Aerial exhibit with today's date. So what you're looking at is just an overall aerial of the general area with the property outlined in yellow in the center. North is to the right of the page. As you see, the property does have two frontage. It is a through lot, as the applicant has stated, so there are some cut through. With access on Route 9 and Old Road is to the east. The property currently consists of a 10,789 square foot building. To the south of the property with parking around the east, north, and west. There are a total of 41 spaces currently, and numbers were testified to as far as the number of spaces for customers and employees. Also to the north of the site is a surface basin, detention basin, which handles the stormwater on the site right now, which discharges to an existing system along Route 9. There are two pre-existing nonconformities on the site or with the site. Minimum lot area for the zone, the CC zone, is 3 acres. The lot is 2 acres. No change proposed on that. And minimum front yard setback, 75 feet is required, where the existing building is 64.8 feet. Again, no changes are proposed with this application. The second sheet, label A2 is entitled Jab Automotive with today's date, site plan rendering. So this is pretty much just a colored rendering of what was provided to the with the submission package. We did make a couple of revisions to this based on the review letters. We added a little bit more landscaping, trying to eliminate some design waivers, and I'll go over that in a little bit more detail once I get to it. But what you're seeing here is on the north side of the property in the darker gray is the proposed parking lot addition. We're proposing 76 vehicles in this parking lot addition, but with a net increase of 75 for the site. We did lose a space when we added the driveway here, so that's why there's a little discrepancy there between 76 and 75. Parking is set back to match existing, what this parking is right here, an existing parking lot. As you can see, this one is actually closer, but we chose to keep it in line with this parking right here. We are asking for a design waiver on the parking stall sizes in the new parking lot, and for this existing row of parking here as well. We are proposing 9 by 18 spaces, which is the industry standard. The ordinance requires 10 by 20 foot spaces, which in my opinion is more intended for a shopping mall where you have a lot of customers using the space. Again, these spaces are not intended for the public to park in or maneuver in or out of. It's more for inventory and display. And to be honest with you, that's actually bigger than most car dealerships that we design right now for inventory spaces. Those are usually 8 by 18. Minor changes to existing parking lot, not a lot. We are adding some more green space. There's an island here, and we're increasing the island in this area as well. It's inefficient space, impervious area that's not being utilized. So we're putting it back to open space and utilizing that space over here where it's more efficient in the parking lot. As far as stormwater detention, what we are proposing to do is convert the surface detention basin to an underground detention system. So it's a series of pipes and chambers and stone which will store the water underground. And then once it discharges out of that, there is actually, before it goes into that system, there is a series of water quality structures. So it's intended to clean the water that comes off of the pavement. All the stormwater is designed with the New Jersey stormwater regulations and complies with quantity and water quality. We are not proposing groundwater recharge, but that is an exception that is allowed in the stormwater rules because this is a redevelopment of an existing site in planning area 1. So, as far as lighting, we are proposing new lighting in the new parking lot. It will consist of LED lighting, so it's all state-of-the-art, energy efficient. The beauty with LED lighting is you could have a good cutoff, so there's very low spillage as far as the new parking lot with the property lines around it. As far as landscaping, what we chose to do was add an evergreen buffer to the back with the neighbors across the street off Old Road, since that is residential. And the changes that we made to the plans were offered by your professionals as far as the landscaping to the north along the property line. We did add one additional tree and 12 shrubs to eliminate the design waiver that was, I guess, being requested. Additionally, we added 2 trees along Route 9, which eliminated another design waiver. But we are asking for 1 variance on the buffer. So along Route 9, a 75-foot landscape buffer is required. I think it's a little counterintuitive to what this is a automotive sales facility. Also, I mean, going up and down Route 9, I don't know if there's any other lot that has a 75-foot buffer. And again, trees are kind of the worst nightmare for car dealerships because we do have bird droppings and sap and tree branches that fall that can damage cars. So where we can, we try to eliminate landscaping or put it to the outside of the property where it can't affect the vehicles. This is a conditional use, and there's 2 conditional uses that or standards that have to be met. We comply with both of them. One is that the floor area shall be more than 10,000 square feet. The existing building is over 10,000 square feet, 10,789. And the traffic impact to the adjoining roadways and intersections shall not be impacted, and we comply with those 3 requirements as well. So just an overview of the variances and design waivers that we're asking for. We have the variance for the 75-foot buffer along Route 9. Again, we are adding shrubs and trees, and we're willing to work with your professionals to come up with something that's aesthetically pleasing, but that won't block the visibility of the vehicles or cause any damage to the vehicles. Loading area. So currently there's no loading area on the site, and we're not proposing to put a loading area. I can answer the question about the car carrier as well. We did run a turning exhibit. It was able to get on the site. The hard part was getting it off the site. The only way to get it on the site was this way, and to get off, we had to come off of Old Road. The problem is Old Road is not wide enough to make that turn. So without just a modification to this curb radii, we wouldn't be able to get out with a full-size car carrier. But with the smaller ones, especially for a pre-owned facility, they're not getting large car carriers like a new car dealership. So if need be that they needed kind of one of those trailers on the back of a pickup truck, this would work, but not a full-size 12-car car carrier. So we're asking for a variance on the loading area as well. Obviously, there's room on the site for loading and unloading of UPS trucks and the small delivery trucks, but we don't have an area designated or striped on the site. Design waivers, I did talk about the parking stall sizes, 9 by 18 versus 10 by 20 required. And the other waiver we're asking for is landscaping within the parking lot. 20% of the parking lot does need to be landscaped. We're not proposing any landscaping within the parking area. Again, it has to do with the tree sap, the bird droppings, and the one thing that people always forget is how do you plow the lot when you have 75 cars and you have to imagine your driveway trying to shovel around 2 cars. They have 76. So it's an operation, and it's easier moving cars without having islands in the way or vegetation in the way that they can just plow one swoop across the parking lot.
One question, John. Can you, I guess, confirm that the Fire Bureau did review this, and they did not have any issues with the design from a fire protection standpoint?
Correct, they requested some striping, which we have no issues with adding fire striping and fire lanes.
Those are I have no questions for our engineer. I open up to the board for questions.
Does our engineer have any comments?
Yeah, so I spoke to John this afternoon about the waivers, the landscaping waivers, and he definitely seemed interested in working with our office to address those. As far as the plan goes, you know, maybe we can do something with the plant selection along the front. I mean, not to block the cars, but instead of just one, you know, row of shrubs,
Oh,
maybe we do
definitely.
ground covers, perennials, maybe, you know, ornamental grasses. And just have to review that along the north side, just the material you're gonna use there. 'Cause what I'd like to see there is some islands, because you got a big parking area that he's putting in now, and there's parking on the next property, so it'd be nice to break that up with some maybe vertical evergreen trees and things like that.
Right, we're open to selection of material, that's
Okay.
not an issue.
And I think as far as the buffer he's asking for, what they're proposing is pretty much what's out there now. 75 feet's pretty extreme. I think that was probably for big shopping centers. I think that's what the intent probably was. Obviously, with the business they have now, they need that visibility. And as they testified, they're going to be well-kept, new, basically, couple-year-old cars. And
Correct.
so you are going to have trailers coming in with trucks? It's not just drivers?
No, I think the question was, can a car carrier actually get on the site? and all,
Okay,
but
gotcha.
It's not intended to have car carriers on the site, no.
I think that's it for me.
Planner have any?
I'm the engineer. Just, who's going to manage the stormwater system?
Jab Automotive would be the operator,
Okay,
listed in the operations maintenance manual.
all right. You're going to address all these comments?
Yeah, actually, you know, I don't know if you want us to go through all of them, but to be honest with you, we're going to comply with all of them. The only thing I could touch on that was requested was testimony on the DOT as far as needing a permit or not for the drainage. In our opinion, reviewing the code, I don't think we need to go DOT since we're not doing any work within the right-of-way, and we're reducing the flows going to that point of analysis. We don't feel like a permit or anything's needed from DOT at this point.
Okay.
Is there any thought to putting a fence along that rear property line instead of I guess, what is it, a chain or?
It didn't come up during our prep meetings. We didn't think, we thought that the chain link, until you identified that there are people who still apparently go onto the landscaping in the grass area. When we put our client puts the chain link on the driveway, that we thought that was sufficient. Obviously, if the board feels the need that, is a fence the best way to address it? Or if we put landscaping, would that prevent?
Landscaping would be great,
Right,
yeah.
I'm thinking, well, we're adding all these evergreen trees here,
Yeah.
and you have evergreen there, really, you just have this small gap here where the driveway is, I'm sorry.
Yeah, is there can you,
Maybe we gotta have a bollard or two, or a tree, or space the trees a little bit further. To avoid the cars from jumping over the curb, I would.
So what is there now? It's a chain link fence, you said?
I think there's just an actual chain.
on the driveway itself, not on the grass area?
Could you do maybe like an ornamental gate or something, or?
Sure.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, you see another drawing, there's a city of apartments behind
Right,
it, like
yeah.
a city.
So is that something we can do administratively where we'll change the gate itself and then spread the trees out a little bit so that little, I presume, we're talking about this area was where the people went over, is that fair?
Yes, I don't believe the chain is the problem. It was the fact that the fellow was able to drive around it.
Oh.
So the chain itself, during the night, probably serves a good purpose. But during the day, I don't know what his intentions were, but he just drove over the grass, over the curb, and then came out, over the curb, over the grass.
I think
So it wasn't the chain that was the problem.
Yeah.
It was just that there was open area.
Yeah.
So I think what we could do is fill in this lawn area that is open, that they could drive on with either some type of post or bollard or.
Evergreen
more-
trees
yeah,
or something,
or
you know?
Trees
would
to
work.
That's fine.
prevent, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
Would the board be comfortable with a condition that said the applicant will work with the board's engineer and planner to come up with a reasonable solution to address the issue of non-invited guests driving over the landscape?
Through traffic.
Okay.
Board have any questions?
I just want the engineer, how do you feel about this underground drainage system?
It works great if it's maintained properly. We have a maintenance manual, and we need to know who is responsible for the maintenance.
And that has to be filed with the township too, right?
Yes.
Who's gonna be responsible, not the town, right?
No,
Property owner?
that's correct.
But the town will have a copy of that on file.
Yeah, I thought so.
Actually, it's on the computer.
I have a question. I was wondering if you could clarify, you had mentioned that there currently is no loading area. I'm a little bit confused because the 2014 documentation does state that a loading zone existed in the rear of the property and will remain. I just want to know what happened between then and now.
Well, I mean, technically there is asphalt here that's not being utilized for parking, so it can be utilized for a loading area. But we don't have any striping that says loading on it or anything.
When you say not utilized for parking, you don't mean
It's just,
inventory storage?
there's no parking or anything back here at all.
There-
It's just pavement.
No, there's definitely cars back there.
Then the application is to move those cars into parking spots and open that up.
So what you're saying is that those stacked cars, the storage of cars is going to be, per that plan, you're not going to see them parking in the loading area or any green areas or
Correct.
visitor
And I
parking
think-
areas?
Right, and I think with the fire official, he's gonna probably have that striped as, no parking fire zone as well, if I remember correctly on his sketch.
Anyone else?
The last witness that we have this evening is Scott Kennel. He's the traffic engineer. And I have, let's have him sworn in and qualified, please.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And just state and spell your name for the record, please.
Yes, Scott Kennel, Kennel, with McDonough and Ray Associates, 1431 Lakewood Road, Manasquan.
Mr. Kennel, do you have a copy of the report, or can I? Oh,
Yes.
yeah. If you could look at, based on the report generated by the township engineer, I believe paragraphs 11 and 12 need some of your comment regarding NJDOT, letter of no interest, and any increase in traffic. I believe the answer is there's no increase in traffic, but could you elaborate for the board?
Yes,
Clarify.
my office prepared a traffic statement dated April 26, 2018, that was submitted as part of this application. And as far as traffic generation for this type of use, it's based on building area and not vehicle inventory, and that's consistent with the New Jersey Department of Transportation method of analyzing or projecting traffic. So therefore, even though the inventory is being increased, this type of use during the peak hours is not expected to generate any more traffic than what exists there today and what was projected back in the 2014 site plan approval. So as a result of that, since there are no improvements to the access within the NJDOT right-of-way, there's no traffic increase. You'd have to have 100 trips per hour increase above the prior permit to be required to file another application. So therefore, this application qualifies as letter of no interest because there's no additional building area and the improvements along Route 9 remain as they are today and as is indicated sufficient to accommodate the large wheelbase vehicles that will be serving the site. That follows to another item that's in the town ordinance as far as conditional uses and its impact on the area roadways. It was demonstrated back in 2014 that the site would not have a negative impact and would be in compliance with the ordinance as far as traffic impacts, and based on my testimony that there would not be any increase or a minimal increase. My opinion that we're still compliant with the township ordinance on the conditional use basis. And the only other comment I have is, again, based on this design that's presented by the site engineer, it provides positive on-site circulation, and it's going to enhance circulation by removing those display vehicles or inventory vehicles from the circulation aisles and having a larger designated area for those vehicles.
I have no further questions for Mr. Kennel. I open to the board.
Any questions from the engineer?
I don't know.
Planner? Any traffic questions from the board? Yeah.
So what you're saying is that there will only be cars in those parking spots, and they won't be parked like they are today?
That's correct. The intent to is to remedy this situation that exists today, to have adequate inventory area to accommodate Mr. Britschke's business.
You know, as his business grows, which it probably will, won't he run into the same issue?
Well, again, he has to be compliant with what the fire marshal said as far as establishing the fire lanes and the non-parking areas. I'm sure if he doesn't, that the township's fire department will be there issuing citations.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
I have nothing further, Mr. Chairman. That's the direct testimony and presentation from the applicant. We ask the board to act favorably on this request, and that's all I have this evening.
If there are no further questions from the board, I open it up to the public. Seeing no hands, we close the public portion. Can I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Just to be clear, the motion is to grant the variances requested and the waivers requested, and includes the conditions discussed at the hearing, which will include no cars being stored outside of designated parking areas, and that the applicant will work with the board's engineer and planner to devise a system to keep uninvited guests off the property after hours.
Yes.
And they're going to comply with the fire department's requests as well.
Correct.
And also comply with the memo, the combined planning and engineering memo, which includes almost everything else we talked about. The combined engineering and planning memo, which deals with almost all the other issues we discussed this evening, they agreed to comply with those.
May I ask one additional question? I'm sorry for not getting this in sooner. I was just wondering, could anybody provide some insight into the actual stormwater system that's being proposed? I had looked at the things on the plan, but when we're talking about like capacity of water going in and things along that nature, and also what kind of maintenance is expected to keep it running optimally?
Sure, so I don't have the actual numbers off the top of my head as far as the flows, but how stormwater rules work is you have to reduce, there's 3 storms that we designed for: a 2-year storm, a 10-year storm, and a 100-year storm. So for a 2-year storm, which is the most common storm, probability of it happening is 50% of storms. So that is, we reduce it by 50% of what the existing flow is coming off site. For a 10-year, we reduce it by 25% or 75% of what it was going off site. And for a 100-year, we reduce it by 20% to 80% of the flows that were going off site. For all the storms, we're reducing the flow coming off site. As far as water quality, there's a structure that all the water goes through, and it cleans all the floatables, like soda bottles and wrappers and oil as well. So there's a medium there to get all that out of it. What they call that is TSS, total suspended solids. And there's a requirement from the state to do that as well, and we meet that requirement. And actually, the devices are certified by the state that we're installing. As far as maintenance, there's a whole maintenance manual that is created, and I believe it's filed with the deed. And in there is instructions of when to inspect So it's after every storm of 1 inch or greater, but no less than 4 times a year quarterly. You have to inspect all the structures to see if there's any cracks, any debris in there. And then there's routine maintenance for the water quality structure as well too, where you have to replace some of the cartridges that are in there that clean everything. And it's dependent on really how much use it's getting. It's not you know, a set time of 10 months. It depends. It has to be inspected. Once there's enough sediment in it, you would call them in there to come and vacuum it out, change the cartridges in there as well. That's pretty much it. And you know, and for this, it doesn't get vacuumed out as well.
All professionally done?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And anything that's exported has to go to a site that can take that waste as well with the oil and stuff.
Maintenance expected to be increased in the case of an automotive lot where there might be more oil? Like, I know that the cars aren't going to be gushing oil, but like, is there any more recommended frequency, or
It's
it shouldn't
no different
affect it?
Than like a shopping mall. I mean, it's the same, cars are the same age. Actually, probably these cars are probably newer than cars at a shopping mall, so it's no different really. And again, there's nothing stored outside as far as oils or anything from the actual facility for service. So yeah, that's the same as any type of parking lot.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's a motion. Was there a second? Okay, good.
Mr. Pasquini?
Yes.
Mr. Lauer?
Yes.
Mr. Lennon?
Yes.
Mr. Mullins?
Yes.
Mr. Luca?
Yes.
Chairman Schmitz?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Good evening.